Welcome back to another episode here in 3 Plays Minecraft. Last time we got our mixed shulker box system sorted, at least most of the boxes. So all of the items that we use most often are categorized in their different shulker boxes here. So things like foliage, things like all the building blocks, things like all the wood types, stuff like that, with the exception of the 16 different colors of dye. So each of these shulker boxes are supposed to represent the 16 different dyes in the game, along with things like concrete powder and terracotta, and glazed terracotta and glass and carpets, all the coloured blocks essentially. So today we're going to start a brand new project. I've been scoping out some more areas of this cave around here, and I did also go caving. It wasn't very fruitful, but I did enjoy it, so I always enjoy some caving. I was able to light up some of the caves around here, but I came back to this area over here, which is just opposite the bee farm. And just across this bridge is going to be our area of development for today. So what I want to do here is set up some farms for pretty much everything you can bone meal in the game. So the 2 nether fungi, the 2 nether vines, glowberries, sweet berries, mangrove propagule, cocoa beans, kelp, sea pickles, rose bushes, lilacs, peonies, sunflowers, wildflowers when we eventually update, dry grass, which I'm pretty sure you can bone meal, glow lichen, hanging roots, pale hanging moss, and there might be 1 or 2 others here as well. So yeah, that's a lot of different foliage in the game, and not all of them give you dye, I guess. I think only these 4 and the cocoa beans give you dye. But you know, I just wanted to tie it in from last episode, and it'll help us later on when we're building, because I want to go kind of foliage heavy in the base. So this will help us, and it'll give us a fun project to do, because of course we're not going to make this simple. What I want for this project is to build some sort of a control panel. So I started to gather some materials for this project. I went back to the trial chamber again and got some more keys. Unfortunately no mace this time though. But I did pick up some more copper which we're going to use. So what I'm thinking here is maybe we'll have some copper bulbs, and each one of these copper bulbs is going to represent a different plant in the chest. So let's say this one on the end here is for, I don't know, the rose bush. So when we hit the button, it's going to send a redstone signal to somewhere else in this room. Scattered around this room is going to be all the different farms, the different micro farms, for all of these different items here. So when we hit the button, it's going to send a signal to say, we want to start farming some rose bushes. So that will turn the farm on, like maybe over here for example. All the items will be collected, sent through some water streams, and then deposited in some centralized storage location, which is probably going to be over here somewhere. I don't know the exact layout of the room just yet, but I want it to connect to our bridge over there, so I think I want to have some sort of a path which goes from around this way and maybe wraps around. And then I want to have all the farms like enclosed in a big room, with the control panel being the centerpiece. Yeah, I just remembered about the pink petals from the last update in the game. I think they're very similar in mechanics to the wildflowers, which I saw you can bone meal, and I'm pretty sure you can also bone meal these. So I would like to find out, and it would give us an idea as to how many buttons we need to add on our control panel. So I think you can... Oh yeah. Yeah, so this is also going to be added to our list. So that brings us up to at least 20 different buttons on the control panel, at least, and we probably want to have more, just to have some room for future expansion, just in case they add more flowers to the game, or if I missed one. All of these flowers use bone meal as well, so that also kind of begs the question, how are we going to farm bone meal? Right now we're getting it from our mob farm, which I'm hoping is going to be sufficient for today, but we can only do so much at once. Eventually we'll build like a mega bone meal farm, probably somewhere near this area, and somehow connect it up to this room. But I don't know, I just want to do the foliage stuff first, and take on this challenge of doing the control panel. The redstone back here is going to get quite messy, because we have, I guess, 20 different signals to send around the room. Plus all the water streams to funnel all the items, and then also deposit bone meal in all the farms. Yeah, there's going to be quite a lot to this now that I consider all the variables. Also, I want to show you guys this. Every time I pass this house, I always hear this witch, and there's a villager in there as well. No arguing, guys, right? The villager gets to bed tonight. Witch, it's your turn tomorrow night. I want to grab some leather. I'm pretty sure I was diligent enough to farm leather, but I hope I didn't turn it all into books. For the villager trades, now we have plenty right here. I want to... Do we have any sticks? We should have sticks at the tree farm. Oh, also, now that I'm passing this farm, do we also want to add a... Hello, phantoms. Man, those phantoms. They show up almost every night now because I'm not sleeping in the cave. Because it's not easy to see when it's daytime or... You having fun back there on the glass? Because it's not so easy to see when it's day or nighttime. So these guys show up every time I come over here for materials. And they're just really annoying me at this point. Like, Mojang, please. Nah, you know what? Since you can't bone meal the melon and pumpkins... I mean, you can bone meal the stems, but not the... You can't increase their growth speed, right? I think we'll just farm those in a different location. Can you guys please leave me alone? We'll just farm these elsewhere and we'll call it good at the 20 items that we already have on our list. Yeah, sticks. I want to grab some sticks. Alright, I'm leaving. I'm out of here. Yeah, I want to have probably some item frames on here. We're missing a few. I didn't pick up enough sticks. Probably some item frames and then maybe, I don't know, I just found some glazed terracotta that I was smelting for something else that I tried. Maybe this would work in here, like with the item frames below. And then buttons above. Yeah, I kind of like that. The control panel is of course going to be the centerpiece of this room, so we want to put some effort into the way it looks. And we'll probably have some vertical height to it as well. Like stack the buttons on top of each other, because 20 in a big row is not going to look very nice. So this is our control panel. I spent a little time building here, and I think we've got the initial concept down. What do we like about this so far? I really like the button layout. Hey, you wanna hear about this control panel as well? The mobs in this game, my goodness. Let me build! So I do like the button layout here. I think it's very easy for us to access all the buttons, right? It's not too high up for us to reach and be able to activate the different farms. We can easily see what we're farming in the item frames. I do like the block palette overall. This terracotta I cannot get enough of. That's red terracotta back there. The regular terracotta. And then glazed terracotta. It's everywhere. I love this block. It's so good. It's probably one of my favorite building blocks in the whole game. I want to try strip this wood just to see what that looks like. But I'm kind of a fan of this unstripped pale oak log. Yeah, that definitely brightens it up. It certainly needs something else. Maybe some more leaves up there. Maybe some tiny little fake custom trees, maybe? Or, I don't know, maybe something appropriate to what we're farming here. Like some nether stuff, nether decorations. I don't know, I'm kind of in a groove right now. I'm like feeling really inspired. It's like I'm having one of those moments where... Wait. I think I want this as a plank or as a log. I'm having one of those moments where everything is just flowing. I'm in the creative flow. And it's so good when this happens. It doesn't happen very often. It did happen last episode, to be fair. But it doesn't happen very often in the game where things just work out after very few attempts. And it's kind of a fluke when it happens. But I'm going to take advantage of this and try and keep on building in this room. I've sort of like hyper fixated on this control panel, but I think it's a good idea to start in a specific area of the room like this and then just expand outwards. Yeah, I'm really happy with the direction so far. So I want to try to somehow define the bounds of the room, because I want to have a proper entrance, and like I said earlier on, I want to have it all enclosed. So I do want to put a ceiling on this place. We're not going to leave it like the stone of this cavern. Yeah, but just looking at this again, I think it feels pretty balanced. Often when I'm building, it's sometimes a good idea if you feel stuck. I don't feel stuck on this particularly, but sometimes it is a good idea to step away. And then when you come back to something you've built, you can instantly realize some of the flaws in it. Like, for example, in this bee area, I came back over here and I realized that the green up there doesn't really fit. At least I think that's the problem with this. There's something that isn't quite right about this, although I do like it overall. Sometimes all the tiny details make the difference. And, oh yeah, speaking of the sightline, I think we want to have a sightline to over here. Although if we're enclosing this space, enclosing the room, that's not going to be the case. So maybe we change the entranceway from being directly opposite the bridge to maybe like curving a path around here somewhere, and then having like a diagonal entrance on like a 45, similar to what we have over there, so we can see the control panel. It might have been smart to build it on the back wall there instead of the side wall, but I'm not going to move it now. We can make it work. Don't worry, we can make it work. Plus, we can hide all our redstone wiring back here, because there is a decent amount of space back here for all the redstone wiring. So we're going to have to take comparator outputs from each of the copper bulbs. So as we learned in the storage system, the copper bulbs will stay on when you power them, which means that we can just grab a redstone signal straight from the copper bulbs. There's also ones back there as well, which is... well, we should have enough space here. Man, this is going to get so tight with all the redstone. With like 20 different... Actually, how many copper bulbs did we end up with in the end? I didn't do a recount, because I had this in a couple of different configurations. How many is there here? 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So we don't actually have enough? Well, that's a bit of a fail. Where are we going to add more copper bulbs? Maybe we can wrap this around. Yeah, maybe we can add like 3 more here. 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. On this side, like 3 on each side, and sort of wrap it around. Yeah, that's only a slight oversight. I might have gotten a little bit carried away here on the building. But we do need to consider functionality. It's very important. Oops. But yeah, essentially what we want to do here is grab some comparator outputs and then not cross the lines. So, you know what? We'll come back to the redstone later on. Let me keep on building here and try to, like I said, define the area of the room. Maybe add some sort of an entrance, and then start to at least roughly plan out where each farm is going to be, because we need to fit 20 different farms in here for each of the different flowers. So this build is probably not going to get finished this episode, which is okay. I'm just trying to play at my own pace, which I hope you guys don't mind. I'm trying just to do what I enjoy in the game, and we'll try and keep things varied between episodes. I really would like to give each build and project in the base the time and effort it deserves to reach the level of quality I want, so I don't really want to rush anything. Unsurprisingly, I did run out of some resources when building and planning, so I mixed in some minor resource collection. Nothing too bad, just using the tree farm and trading with villagers for redstone mostly. We still have a decent amount of stuff stashed away that we can dip into for this build. Ideally, this place has some height variation and asymmetry. I don't want to have it all on one flat plane. The cocoa beans, for example, and 1 or 2 other crops need to be manually replanted by the player, so those I want to have easy access to. But other foliage like the sea pickles and the 2 tall flowers can be auto-harvested, so those can be up a little higher and we don't need them in such convenient locations. But all the farms we definitely want to have on display. I don't want things hidden away behind walls or anything. With that being said though, I did try to capitalize on my inspiration for this build, for this room, which needs a name by the way, so if you have any name suggestions for this, then leave them in the comments. I'm thinking something like the greenhouse or something along those lines, I don't know yet. But yeah, I just tried to do as much prep work as I could. I didn't want to go too far though, so let's try and get the first 4 dispensers plugged in here together. Sunflowers, the peonies, the lilacs, and the rose bushes, which are going to be placed in these first 4 slots right here. I decided to move the storage space to be centrally located in the room, which I think will make the item routing much easier. We need to get the items into this water stream here to go over the top of the filters, but we'll talk about that in a moment. Let's first of all get our dispensers placed here. So we're going to do 2 dispensers per flower type. And then I tested this to where I think we want to have some farmland underneath here. And farmland is less than a block tall. So it means we can do a hopper underneath and we don't need to do a hopper minecart. Yeah, so because the farmland is less than a block tall, it means we can put our hopper underneath here. Yes, nice, it does hydrate. Underneath here, and that should pick up anything on top of the dirt here, which will be our farmed flowers. And that is going to feed into a dropper, which will have to connect to the water stream, and that's going to go into the filters here. I have a feeling it might also be necessary to do this with a hopper as well, just to make sure that we collect any items that land in this block space. I suppose we could also put some glass here in front, but I kind of want to leave it open, so I think I prefer to do this instead, and we'll just put a slab over the top of this. So now we want to plant our plants, right? Our foliage. So I think I want to do the purple ones on the outsides. And let's see if the sunflower is going to face us. It doesn't. Yeah, that's a little unfortunate. I don't think there's anything we can do about that. I think it always faces the same direction in the world. But yeah, I guess we've got rosebush and then lilac. And then we'll have to power our dispensers. So I believe the easiest way to do this is just to use some observers. And so the observers, when you point them into each other, they will give a redstone update, right? So we can just do this and point the faces into each other. And this one updates this one updates this one, and it gives a consistent redstone pulse. And because we're hard powering the top dropper, or the top dispenser, it will also send a redstone signal to the bottom one. And we should have both activate at the same time. And then obviously we're going to have to connect this to our control panel as well, right? But I think for that, we're going to wait and see how the wiring shapes up, because there's going to be a lot of different water streams to also route through here. We also need to feed our dispensers here full of bone meal. So actually, let's go ahead and add some hoppers into each dispenser. We can just feed it like this and then run a bone meal line over the top here. I'm not sure which direction that's going to come from yet, so I'm just going to leave it as it is. But let's see if we can do a really quick test just to make sure the hoppers are working properly. So let's do that. And are we getting lilacs? Yes, we are. Nice, and we're already out of bone meal. Okay, let's switch this off. So to switch it off automatically... Wait, it did go in the dispenser, right? Or the dropper. Yes, perfect. So to switch it off automatically, what we can do is have a piston here. And then the other observers to make the clocks on top of the piston. And then all we have to do is send our redstone signal from the control panel over to here. And that activates the dispensers and starts farming the lilacs in this case. Right? So we need to run separate redstone lines to these pistons here. But let's first see if we can get the item filters set here. So these filters are slightly different to the other ones that we have in the world. Actually, I have these ones at the mob farm as well, but I didn't really show it off on video. So these ones are A/B tileable, and they allow you to have only 18 items in the filter as opposed to the standard 41. So you can essentially send more items through here, and you have more throughput to prevent overflow. So let's set them in the same order that we have them. So lilacs, rose bushes, sunflowers, then peonies. Is it peony? Is that the right pronunciation? I'm not sure. Also, we're out of lilac, or we're out of rose bushes. Peony? Peony? That sounds just so weird. It doesn't sound right to me. Yeah, so sunflowers, rose bushes, we have the other two. And we'll also have to set the auto dropper as well. So we need to pulse this dropper whenever there is items inside. Lilacs first? Yeah, lilacs first in here. And it should drop it until there's 18 left. Yeah, so it pretty much just allows you to have less items in the hopper. So you can send, like, let's say, another half stack at once. And it shouldn't, or there's less chance of it bypassing the filter and bypassing the storage space. Because these farms are pretty fast, at least these ones here. Okay, so let me try and not embarrass myself here and set up an auto dropper. I can never set these up properly the first time, and because of our space requirements, it might get a little tight. Hold on. I think we can actually free up some space if we reposition this hopper into this one. And we can just do that instead, and that gives us this space, this side of the dropper free as well. So I think what we want to do here is grab a comparator signal. Wait, we can save a block space actually if we put the comparator straight on the dropper. So we do comparator, repeater, block, redstone, redstone, target block. Yes, perfect. Okay, let's make sure we place the glass first of all. I don't want a spillage. Then we'll place the water, even though it's more difficult, but it's safer that way, if we can get up there. Can I get in here, please? Yes, we want a water source right there. So we need to extend our water source even further, which means we can just do another pressure plate. Or actually, does the pressure plate stop the momentum of the item? That's something I'm not too sure about. It looks like no, it doesn't. I didn't even consider that, but yeah, I guess it doesn't count as a full block, so it counts as if it's still on ice. Wait, how many chests do we have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 chests? Oh, that's not ideal. Our water source is going to have to be on this block here. Oh, and now this isn't going to go around the corner, is it? Because the water source is stopped here. Okay, I think what we'll do here is we'll take out a slice in the middle instead of rerouting this, because I really want to keep these pillars in this configuration so that we have this like nicely framed entrance and exit. So what we'll do is we'll take out a slice out of the storage here, and we'll replace this with ice blocks, and that way we can put another pressure plate on top of this and continue this forward. Now, that leaves us with 23 slices for storage, if we also do the same thing on the other side. So we'll have 23 slices of chests and 24 buttons on the wall, but we're already under that amount. We have 20 items that are farmable, but I don't want to screw us over in the future, so I do want to make sure that we have at least 24 slices here. So what I'm going to do is move these filters on the back wall at least 2 blocks in this direction, and that way we can stick 2 more chest slices here. And because we start our water source in the middle of this chest wall, I mean, it is going to be a little uneven because we'll have a pillar right here and a sort of cut off in the chest. So maybe there's another solution for this. Aha, okay, so I found our solution here. What I done was I removed the first 2 slices. This one should not be here. And I think I moved all the filters over. Yes, I did. Yeah, so I removed the first 2 slices of chests. So now we have the pillar in the middle. So there's a grouping of 5 and then another grouping of 5 and then 5, 5, 5. So 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 chest slices. We have 24 buttons on the wall. I realized that we don't actually need these AB tileable ones for the 18 filters here, since we're only firing stuff out of the dropper at like a comparator clock speed. But it might be that we will have multiple input sources actually, because we're going to have more farms like up here, for example, and then down on this section, which will have to be the output will have to be routed underneath most likely, and then probably up some sort of soul sand elevator in this corner. So it's not absolutely essential that we go for these 18 slot filters. I think it just costs us an extra comparator and an extra piece of redstone, which isn't the end of the world. They're a bit more complex to build, but this one here is just the standard item filter, and this one here just raises it up a block slightly, just to avoid the signal strength from interfering with each other. Alright everyone, so lots more progress here on the greenhouse project. I spent some time building and refining some of the areas that we had put together. So first of all, I changed up this wall here just to... well, I wasn't really happy with it. I also changed some of the floor textures here. This is now birchwood, which I think works much better here. It's a really nice and light flooring. And then it transitions over to a dark floor and then back to a light floor. I tried to keep it quite varied. I don't want things to all look the same. I want to have a lot of visual interest and asymmetry everywhere, which is easier said than done, but I think we're getting there after a lot of trial and error. So this might look a little bit spaghetti, but actually it's not too bad given our space requirements or the circumstances here that we find ourselves in with this the bulbs so close to each other. I still have to wire the ones on the side, but those are the easy ones. But it kind of depends on where the rest of the farms are going to lie and where the lines are going to have to be routed. We can go down and underneath. There should be plenty of space under here for wiring. And similarly, we can go above as well. There should be plenty of space here. It's just that on the sides, it gets a little bit tight. And there's also water here. This is all flooded where we are right now, so we have to be a bit careful of that. But yeah, as you can see here, the redstone follows this path and then down a 90-degree bend and then into the back of our control panel. The first 4 are plugged in here, so the rosebush, the lilacs, the peonies, and the sunflowers. We should hear the dispensers turn on, although we don't have any bone meal. Excellent, that's extremely loud. Let's turn it off. Let's make sure they actually turn off as well. I haven't tested the buttons, I was just testing it manually. Like by placing a lever next to the redstone down there, so good to know that... oh, wait a second. Aha. Okay, how do we fix that? How do we fix that? I think we have to move this down, but this is right on the limit of the 15 blocks of signal strength, so we need to add an extra repeater down here somewhere. And can you please stop clicking for a minute? Between the dispensers and the copper bulbs, I'm losing my mind here. It's just clicking all the time. Just click, click, click. I think we have to move this down a block, right? But we don't want it to interfere with this. Yeah, we sort of need the repeater to be there, which is unfortunate, because that means that we're going to get the same... Okay, what is the solution here? Why am I having so much trouble with this? We can't put a redstone dust here, because that interferes with this one. So we kind of need our repeater to be here. Oh wait, does that work if we move this down a block? That and that. And this line here powers this block, hard powers this block. And there's a repeater above that, and that powers the piston behind here. So it was the rosebush. I'm going to have to reorder these, because I just plugged them into where the most convenient location was back here. But I kind of want them in order, so I'm going to reorder the item frames there. Okay, so it's on again. Let's make sure it turns off again. So many issues with the redstone. I was so focused on the building. I just quickly wired these in. And I also noticed an issue down at the bees. Okay, nice, that fixed it. I also noticed an issue down at the bees as well, where you remember I showed you guys the crafters back here? Well, apparently crafters will automatically, well, it will continue to output even if there's no space in the adjacent inventory. So this hopper chain used to fill with iron ingots, and then it would feed into the crafters to craft shears. And every time the honey or the beehive would receive a honey level update, it would send a signal via the observer to the crafter to craft us shears. But even if this is full, it would still spit out the shears. And there's a dark spot somewhere. You shouldn't be here. So I don't really know what the solution is here. I've disconnected it for now, but if you guys have any ideas, then please leave them in the comments. It might be that we just have to buffer shears in the chest instead of iron. The farm is working very well though. I've taken out several stacks to craft the beehives for the flooring over there. We have lots and lots of honeycomb. And similarly, I've raided this a couple of times. I think I've taken out 3 stacks of honey blocks in total, and we have another 3 and a bit stacks here. Over 3.5 stacks if you count the honey. Other than the issues with the shears, I have no complaints with this. And there's another zombie, are you kidding me? So additionally, we now also have 3 more farms on this bottom level. These aren't plugged in yet, although I do have the dispensers and stuff, or yeah, the dispensers and the observers with the pistons. Still have to connect the redstone wire to here, which is something I'll do between episodes. But this is going to be for farming the pale hanging moss, which we don't have yet, and the hanging roots, which also we don't have, as there's not many lush caves around here. All three of these farms need player input, which is why I put them in a more centralized location, easy to access these ones. Similarly, the cocoa beans, like I mentioned earlier on, I'll probably end up putting the cocoa bean one over here in a little corner. It should fit there. But yeah, this one here, I think you have to right click when it's on. Otherwise it doesn't harvest the glowberries, but it's pretty fast. And then of course we have our hoppers underneath. And then we have, as you can hear, another dropper here. So from behind the farm, the hoppers feed into a dropper. And then we have a comparator signal sending its signal to a sticky piston, which activates a observer clock to activate the dropper this time, instead of the comparator clock, just because of the space constraints that we had in this location with the water stream nearby. But the items are ejected straight into an upwards elevator, and that just joins straight into the one that we built earlier on. So it works out actually quite well there. And then, yeah, we can add this to another zombie. We can add this to our storage system fillers. So this one here is the peonies. This one will be the lilacs, I guess. Or, wait. I think this one is in the wrong one. The peonies should be in this one, but that might have been from earlier on, before I moved all these item fillers. And the fillers are not so easy to access here, but as you can see in the storage room, yeah, I went with a bit of a different block palette here. We kept our jungle wood, and then we have some copper on the floor and some bricks just to give it some structure underneath, and then some bamboo to give the illusion of holding up the chests. Yeah, overall, I quite like this. I was going to cover the glass here, but I kind of like the idea of being able to see the items flow into the different filters. The only thing is, I think we'll have to probably change this glass in the back out, because you can see like all the way through here. So I'll probably switch that out between episodes, but I'm kind of leaning on keeping the one in the front so you can see all the items flowing. And yeah, I just realized that these filters are now impossible to reach, I think, without breaking the redstone up here. Yeah, I just broke stuff. That's the peony. Oh no. Yeah, the filter is now broken. Okay, I fixed the filter. Let's go ahead and add glowberries here to the next one, the next row. And we'll also need a way to mark the storage, what's being stored. So I don't know if I want to go for some more item frames here. That would probably be the easiest way. And lastly, for now, we have 2 more farms here for the wild flowers and the sweet berries. Although I realized that I think we need a hopper minecart underneath this, as the drops get stuck on the grass blocks there. There is hoppers underneath this though, at least underneath the slab, which feeds into the original dropper, and that just, yeah, tosses the items into the water stream here along with the rest. But yeah, that's pretty much as far as I've gotten so far. It's a bit unfortunate that there's an amethyst geode right here, and in fact there's a second one right below it, so it would kind of be ideal if we could set up a farm for this, as this area is going to be loaded a lot. I'm undecided if I want to rip this out or not. We should have enough space for all the farms, but it's hard to say really. We don't have that many left to implement, but they should fit on this wall, and then also on this level here, like wrapped around, and then more behind the item filters down there. I'm finding that the space is running out pretty quickly, so we might have to make some clever use of the space by maybe putting the fungi in the floor, since I'm pretty sure that has to be farmed in some sort of shifting floor design, so maybe we could stick it in the floor down here. The kelp and the sea pickle, that has a slightly larger footprint, at least for the design I have built in my creative world for those two, because those ones I'm not so familiar with. But they should be able to fit in this corner over here. Yeah, there's still a little bit to figure out with this project. However, with that, we are going to wrap up this episode. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate your support on the series so far. I'm having so much fun in this world. It's shaping up quite nicely. I'm going to keep doing some building between episodes. And maybe I think we'll maybe keep working on this next time. But I also have some other ideas, so we might do a half and half episode between different areas. Try and keep it varied, as I mentioned. That is the plan. We didn't get our dyes here, but we're well on our way to get at least 4 of them. Yeah, we started a fun project though. For now though, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next episode in 3 Plays Minecraft.